And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, today we're going to be talking about Boston. We're talking about Massachusetts. We're talking about your girl. You know, Michelle Wu, the mayoress of Boston. She was recently re-elected as she ran unopposed, y'all. Nobody. She had no opposition to her mayorship. And now she is the mayor of Boston yet again. I'll be honest, y'all. I'm just going to keep it real. People in Boston, you might dislike this, but I'm going to say it. Will's probably doing a better job over there in Boston. She probably has a more favorable terrain to work with, but I think she's doing a better job than your boy Brandon Johnson, y'all. I think Will was probably beating old Brandy boy, you know, the illustrious sub 10% approval rating mayor of Chicago. I think Will's beating him. But then now we have Mom Donnie entering the chat, y'all. We're going to see how Mom Donnie, is he going to be better than Wu? Is he going to be worse than Johnson? We have to take a look. One thing that's not good in Boston is that homicides are up 36% in 2025. And you have to wonder if it's because the Boston criminal justice system, the Massachusetts criminal justice system, it's breaking down, y'all. It is literally breaking down. People on the street might not know this, but I bet you the criminals know it. We've been covering this story for months and months now. They are releasing criminals onto the streets because the public defenders, which are your constitutional right, y'all, if the state wants to put a charge on you and you don't have the money to defend yourself, they have to provide you with public defenders. But Massachusetts does not pay their public defenders the wage that those people say they deserve. And so Massachusetts does not have enough coverage for all the criminals or for all the defendants, and they're having to release people. We've been covering this story, y'all, and we're going to go ahead and cover it. So first, let's get the latest just on that. But before we do, y'all, we are launching our official Patreon. So if you want to be a founding member on our Patreon, we have just 222 slots, y'all. If you want to be a founding member, go down, click the very first link in the description, and you're going to feel good about this, y'all, because believe it or not, we are an actual paralegal school, and we help people get their paralegal certificate and get working in the paralegal field. And all of the proceeds from our Patreon, when you enroll as a founding member, all of that is going to go to scholarships for people who would like to study at our institute, y'all. So click that first link down in the description. Join us as a founding member, y'all. This deal will not come back. Now let's get into the story.
Criminal cases dismissed, suspects accused of violent crimes released. One district attorney tells me it's going to keep happening until we fix the system, and he says it all starts by following the money.
If something terrible happens to you, you expect the criminal justice system to work.
Plymouth District Attorney Tim Cruz says that is not happening now for victims of crimes in Massachusetts.
And to all of a sudden have your case thrown out because the system is not working is a huge problem.
Cruz is talking about the court crisis sparked in May. That's when private attorneys known as bar advocates, who defend most suspects who can't afford a lawyer, stopped taking new cases to protest their pay. That work stoppage has led to an avalanche of criminal cases being dismissed in Massachusetts. More than 2,000 in Middlesex and Suffolk counties since May. But Cruz is not pointing the finger at bar advocates. He is raising questions about the Committee for Public Counsel Services, CPCS, the state agency that oversees bar advocates and also has court-appointed lawyers of their own.
We need to start looking at how is CPCS spending their money.
Now, y'all, we're going to take a look at how CPCS is spending their money. We're going to take a look at the report. We're going to continue with this report. But I just want to remind everybody that money is fungible, right? What that means is a dollar is a dollar. If you spend a dollar over here, that's a dollar you didn't spend over there. And so this is a constitutional right people have. If you are charging them with a crime, you have to provide them with an attorney if they can't afford one. So anytime Massachusetts is spending money on anything else that's not a constitutional guarantee to their citizens, they kind of need to take that money and make sure that this is done properly. So let's take a look at CPCS budget, but just keep that in mind because, you know, Massachusetts, they spend a lot of money on people who aren't even citizens, y'all. if you know what I mean.
Right now, attorneys who work directly for CPCS handle about 20% of those cases. The private attorneys who are still locked in the pay dispute, they handle the rest. But Cruz questions whether taxpayer-funded CPCS can and should be doing more.
I think that somebody needs to look at that and say, what are you guys doing with that money? And can we use it better? And can we make it a better system so individuals are going to be represented fairly and accurately?
Would you go as far as to say the CPCS, there should be an independent audit to see how they're managing their funds?
Sure. We get audited. Why can't CPCS get audited?
CPCS was allocated just over $368 million in the latest state budget. Nearly $214 million of that, 65%, goes to the private attorneys in the Bar Advocate program. Cruz says it's time to look at how much CPCS is spending on the bar advocates and whether CPCS should be taking on more clients.
Don't forget, CPCS has arbitrary cap limits. No more cases. Too many cases. We don't have that luxury.
Another reason Cruz questions CPCS, the state gives district attorneys' offices $180 million to prosecute all cases. Compare that to the $368 million the state gives to defend indigent clients.
So we do twice as much work for half the money.
Here, police1.com, I'm going to just take this for what it is, y'all. Police1.com says Boston homicides up 36% in 2025. While Boston PD statistics show a slight decline in crime overall, there have been 30 homicides in the city, up from 22 in 2024. So y'all, homicides have popped up in Boston. Okay, here it says crime is down across the city, but homicides have increased by 36% this year, according to the latest statistics released by Boston Police. While the total number of crimes committed in the city is down by 2%, I mean, that's got to be within the margin of error. Compared to this time last year, Boston Police Department has reported 30 homicides so far in 2025. The uptick, which could increase because y'all, there's still what, 3.5, 4 weeks left in the hopefully nobody else gets killed in Boston, but you know, the year's not over. The uptick, which could increase by 2025's end, comes after 2 straight years of declining homicide numbers for the city, but officials stress this year's numbers are still low by historic standards. All right, so the numbers are going up, but they're like, yeah, but they still low, people. I don't know if that's what you want to say when you're talking about homicide, you know? Is that how you reply? Yeah, more people are getting killed, but not like before. I don't know. Just doesn't sound right. At the time, Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox said the city is the safest he'd ever seen it. Y'all, how is the city going to remain safe if they're releasing criminals back onto the streets because they won't pay the public defenders? Isn't Massachusetts and Boston, aren't they run by Democrats? Aren't Democrats the pay people what they deserve to be paid people? Aren't Democrats the living wage people? Why don't they give those public defenders an attorney's living wage? We need to take to the streets for the attorneys, y'all, for the public defenders.
In August, the legislature authorized CPCS to hire 320 new attorneys over the next 2 fiscal years. They also authorized the inspector general to look into how the agency is spending its money. Now, in response to DA Cruz's comments tonight, CPCS sent us a statement that reads in part, the DA's suggestion that our attorneys should simply take more cases is reckless. It would violate ethical caseload limits, increase the risk of wrongful convictions, and undermine the integrity of the justice system. Reporting in the newsroom tonight, Brittany Johnson, 5 Investigate.
Now, this entire thing, this public defender pay, went to the Massachusetts Supreme Court recently, and we did a story on that, y'all. So I'm going to loop in so that you can get some more information about the argumentation before the Massachusetts Supreme Court. If you want to see what it looks like for 3 powerful, eloquent, persuasive women to go before the state Supreme Court and argue their case, I was very impressed watching this, y'all. Let's take a look. Now, y'all, one quick thing. You're going to be hearing about the La Valley Protocol. You need to know what that is. It's very easy to understand. It's from 2004. It's a rule in Massachusetts. It says if you stay in jail without an attorney, you must be released after 7 days. And if you remain out on bail without an attorney, your case must be dismissed after 45 days. So in other words, if you can't afford an attorney and you're in jail and the state can't give you one, after a week, they have to let you go. After 45 days, they have to drop your case altogether. They have to dismiss your case. Okay, 7 days in jail, they can't help you. You get free. 45 days, they have to drop the case. All right. Now watch. Okay, so the first person we're going to hear is representing the attorneys who's saying, look, you got to pay us what we're worth. Like, we can't work for substandard wages. Isn't Massachusetts one of these like pseudo socialistic type of societies where everybody's supposed to be taken care of? So they aren't taking care of the attorneys that are providing the constitutional rights to the accused criminals. Let's take a look at what she has to say.
Good morning, Your Honors. Rebecca Jacobstein from CPCS on behalf of the unrepresented defendants in Middlesex and Suffolk counties. I wanted to start by addressing the two questions before the court today. First, in light of the present shortage of counsel, which has resulted in the ongoing systemic denial of constitutional rights of indigent defendants, do the courts have the authority to order increased compensation? And the second question, if so, under what circumstances? The answer to the first question is a resounding yes. The courts are the ultimate protectors of constitutional rights. They must protect the right to counsel, they must protect the right to a fair trial, and they protect the right to access justice. And they cannot protect the right to access justice or the right to a fair trial without an attorney guiding a person from the beginning.
And isn't that why we have the LaValle Protocol?
Yes, but the LaValle Protocol is a temporary remedy. It has been 5 months. I got updated numbers as of yesterday afternoon. We still have over 900 people without lawyers. And this is like, as in LaValle, the court implemented the protocol even though there were actions taken to possibly resolve the problem. But they still acted because there was no assurance that those people would solve the problem. We can now be assured that right now, legislative action, which has improved the problem, has definitely not solved.
There are a bunch of defendants whose cases have been dismissed without prejudice. Those defendants are not currently facing criminal charges.
Those whose cases have not come back, correct.
Right. And so it appears that, as you say, this has gone on for a really long time. So more and more defendants' cases are being dismissed. So
yes,
you say that LaValle was only intended to be temporary. What is the difference between 155 defendants getting the benefit of the LaValle Protocol for a shorter period of time and 2,000 defendants getting the benefit of the LaValle Protocol over a longer period of time? What's the constitutional difference there?
Because at this point, we are now baking into the system the denial of the right to counsel, right?
All right. Pretty compelling argument. So that's the plaintiff, y'all. That's the people who are moving. That's the people who are, let's say, suing. These are the attorneys who represent these indigent defendants, and they're like, you have to pay us what we worth, or we just aren't going to take the job. I mean, simple as that, right? So that's the movers. Those are the plaintiffs. Now the defendant. This is the Attorney General's office for the state of Massachusetts. They're basically going to say, don't make us pay them what they're worth. Don't make a look what they're worth. That's my term. So I should use a less biased term. Don't make us pay them what they say they're worth. That's a better way of because I don't want to be biased in this. We're going to pay them what we pay them. The legislature decides the pay rate, not the Supreme Court. It's not your job. It's not my job. It's the legislature's job to decide pay rates.
You had to talk to the private bar, and we've done everything humanly possible on our end. We still can't go here. It's a categorical violation of Article 30.
Your Honor, the position of the courts is not categorically that the court can do nothing. No, it is that categorically the courts may.
More Justice Wolhojan's last question. I see why we shouldn't be crossing the line if there's still things for us to do. But if we've exhausted everything possible, don't we have the power then to cross the line, or no?
Your Honor, the position of the courts would be that there should be no circumstances where the courts cross one particular line. And that line is judicial rate setting. in this particular case. There are no circumstances where the courts should do that for at least two reasons. First, as your honors have already stated, it would be plainly inconsistent with the core power of the legislature, that being evaluating the many competing policy interests and financial interests that underlie each and every legislative decision, particularly given the limits, the inherent limits placed on state funds. The second reason, your honor, is that there is great benefit to this court providing clarity for bar advocates and for all other stakeholders that the role of the courts is not to set attorney compensation rates.
But we've done it. I mean, there are a slew of cases where the court has both assigned defense counsel and ordered the payment of the rate that the court determined was reasonable to that counsel.
Your Honor, first, with respect to cases where that happened in the past, all of those cases took place prior to the system that has been established with the creation of CPCS.
And so you think that the creation of CPCS has ceded this inherent authority of the courts, even when that system does not result in the protection of the constitutional rights of the defendant. That somehow, by creating CPCS, the legislature has stripped the courts of the inherent authority they had prior to CPCS's creation.
Your Honor, in each of, as your Honor correctly points out, in each of the cases that existed prior to the creation of CPCS, judicial decisions with respect to what might be an appropriate rate of compensation for attorneys were not inconsistent with any existing statute.
And now a local district attorney's office is on the side of the attorney general's office, who's also saying, look, the legislature decides the pay rates, not the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is trying to decide, like, is this even our job to be deciding pay rates? Or that's what they're trying to decide. But notice how this representative, this lawyer for Suffolk County DA's office, notice how she says, she admits this is a crisis. This is chaos. The situation, the way it is loco.
Because of the nature of the shortage. And I want to go back to Justice George's question.
So you don't think that part of the solution would be to tinker with the La Valley Protocol itself?
Possibly.
Okay, so those would be something like shortening the amount of time that people can be held in detention, or dismissal with prejudice as opposed to dismissal without prejudice, correct? Are there any other components of the La Valley Protocol that could be considered?
I think those will have to be played out in the single justice session and eventually make their way up here. As for today, I'm not sure, and certainly from a public safety perspective, I don't think any of those are appropriate measures.
But there would be no Article 30 concern.
No.
Right?
No. Yes, Your Honor. And going back to Justice George's question.
I think you're going to read my mind,
yes,
because I read that same case in the ACLU case.
Yes.
And that's why I started with this.
Yes, Your Honor.
There in those contexts, that there was an organic contextual problem.
Yes, Your Honor.
It wasn't one that seemed to be, I don't like the rates that I signed up for, so I'm not going to take cases anymore, which to me suggests something, a different analysis. So please.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. And I would point out that the record here does bear out that the shortage here is a concerted withdrawal of services in the busiest counties in the Commonwealth for the purpose of forcing the legislature to raise rates. That was the stated purpose by bar advocates in withdrawing their services and providing indigent defense in the busiest counties in the Commonwealth, knowing that the protocol would go into effect and that chaos would result. It has resulted, and their stated purpose has been met. The legislature responded. Now it's this court's job to say Article 30 prevents us from stepping in. We need to see how this is going to play out.
You represent the district attorney.
Yep, yes, Your Honor.
How does public safety figure into all this? Are we gambling with public safety?
It is a mess, Your Honor, in the trial courts.
So y'all, we're gonna have to wait and see what the Massachusetts Supreme Court says. In the meantime, they're releasing people accused of crimes, and the murder rate is spiking, y'all. Drop a comment down below. What do y'all think is going to be the resolution of this? And what do you think about this in general? I actually saw an article say that this is not just a problem in Massachusetts. So in future videos, we'll probably look at other states that have a similar issue. Drop a comment down below, y'all. But before you do, please stop, hit the share button. Share this video out over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all your favorite social mediums. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.